With the new HBO Harry Potter TV series fast approaching, I've thought a lot about what I want to see from the show. A lot of these ideas came to me following the castings, which we've gotten a number of so far. I've made videos on these castings if you're interested. I'll link it down below so you can watch it after you finish this video. When the show was first announced like 2 years ago at this point, I actually made a video that was titled Dear HBO, what I want to see from this new reboot. But since then, things have drastically changed with the show, so I thought it was time to do an updated version.
Maybe you could tell me now.
If you enjoy the content, please consider liking and sharing. It will greatly help to grow and sustain the channel. And if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button, and you can also follow me on all of my other social medias, all of which are linked down below, and all of which house similar content that I make here on this channel. Now that I've said that, let's look at 7 things I want to see in this new Harry Potter series. We'll start with the fun one for number 7, which is having the old Harry Potter cast come back to play new characters. There have been a few of the former cast that actually expressed interest in returning, including Matthew Lewis saying he'd be open to playing Remus Lupin if approached. The Phelps twins also expressed willingness to return, and one idea I had for that was actually coming back to play their uncles Fabian and Gideon Pruitt, Molly Weasley's brothers, who actually died fighting for the Order of the Phoenix in the First Wizarding War. Imagine if we had a flashback of them fighting to their last breath, and it was the Phelps twins portraying them. That would be awesome. Tom Felton has also expressed interest in coming back, saying he would be open to playing the father of his former character, Lucius Malfoy, which would actually be incredible. Ralph Fiennes was another former cast member that commented on returning, saying he would actually return as the same character, Lord Voldemort. However, he also endorsed Cillian Murphy for the role of the Dark Lord, so it seems as though he's content passing on the torch. Also, Cillian Murphy as Lord Voldemort? Oh my god. Superman shows and movies have been known to do this over the years, bringing back actors who played major roles in previous Superman projects to play smaller characters in the new projects. I would love it if Harry Potter took this chance to do the same thing. I think it would be really fun. For number 6, we'll move on to a more serious topic, and that is the fact that I don't want the showrunners to make Snape's race be a part of his character. There has been a lot of controversy surrounding the casting of Severus Snape, as they race swapped him to be black, hiring Papa Essiadu to take on the character. I've discussed my thoughts on this casting in what I thought was a respectful and reasonable manner, and I was happy to see nothing but positive feedback confirming that the way I handled it and spoke about it was in more of a scholarly way than anything else. Whether you like it or not though, Snape is going to be black in this series. As I said in my video for this casting, there is inevitably going to be things that pop up because of this race swap, but I'm hopeful that the writers will not intentionally write his character to accentuate his race and racism as a whole. For instance, I wouldn't want the Marauders to come after him saying discriminatory insults. Just stick to what they said in the book. There's no need to add any racism. And the same goes for all of the characters that loathe Severus Snape, which is a huge number of people. This includes the trio, Neville, pretty much every other Gryffindor, the Marauders, eventually Lily, and I'm sure a few more. When they're insulting him, I don't want them to say anything about his race, or have someone like Draco or Pansy Parkinson tell them that the reason why they dislike him is because he's black. I can also see them having Petunia say something about the color of his skin when they were children, because in the book, she does berate him about his looks and his clothes, so it would be really easy for the writers to throw that in, but I'm really hopeful that they don't. Please just keep race out of it and stick to the motives and tribulations that the characters had in the source material. For number 5, my hope is that they do right by making Hagrid a half-giant. Surprisingly, the films never actually stated that he was part giant. Viewers could have put this together because his half-brother Grawp is a giant, but it's never specifically stated. So it would be nice to see them address that and see how he was discriminated against because of it. Obviously, I endorse this bias and not Snape's because this is actually a part of Hagrid's character that Rowling, the author of the series, intended to be there, which is not the case with Snape. Going past Hagrid being a half-giant in the story though, I also hope that they come up with a way to make Nick Frost, who was cast to play the character, look good on camera. The movies had this terrifying face that they made, which was used whenever they depicted him at his full height of 8 feet. I really want the show to figure out a better way to do this with Nick Frost, maybe using CGI, which has advanced tremendously since the movies were made. In the novels, Hagrid was actually just over 11.5 feet, which obviously is not practical for filming, so I would be okay if they stuck to just the 8 feet tall. Actor Nick Frost is actually pretty short though, only standing at 5 feet and 7 inches, or 171 centimeters, so making him that big could be interesting. Robbie Coltrane, who played the original Hagrid, was 6 inches taller than Frost, but I'm sure they can use CGI or camera tricks to make it look like Nick Frost really is half giant. For number 5, I want to see a more accurate and more level-headed Dumbledore. Richard Harris, who played Dumbledore in the first 2 films before passing away, was very book accurate, always being calm and speaking softly. Later though, Michael Gambon sort of created his own version of the character when he took the place of Harris, and his performance did not match the way the character was meant to be. In the films that Gambon appeared in, he was always loud and yelling.
Silence! Harry Potter! Harry, did you put your name in that goblet of fire?
No, sir.
You asked one of the older students to do it for you?
No, sir.
Attention! Today's no more a Death Eater than I am. Cedric Diggory was murdered. Witness for the defense. But you all have studying to do.
And in most situations, this is not how Dumbledore is meant to be. My hope is that John Lithgow, who was cast to play Dumbledore in the new series, is more like Richard Harris and less like Michael Gambon. And a big reason why this is so important is because it makes the scenes where Dumbledore shows his true command and power much more alarming and frightening. Gambon's performance unfortunately pretty much negates the level of suspense those scenes were meant to have. I have faith that Lithgow will do right by the character, especially because he's meticulously reading the books right now to really study the character and figure out how he's going to play him. For number 3, I'm going to talk less about the cast and everything that we figured out, and just say, I want more Quidditch. The films barely scratched the surface for this, and for the movies that did have Quidditch, they were limited to just one match, whereas in the book, there were several games each school year, and they were one of the most exciting parts of each book. Some of the games in the movies also blatantly ignored the rules, like Wood and Angelina getting taken out of the game illegally and nobody doing anything or stopping the game. Or when somebody who was actually meant to be Cedric Diggory was struck by lightning and fell to the ground, but the game still went on. Now that they have much more time to flesh out plot lines, this is one thing that I really hope they make time for. And with the advancement in CGI, they can create sequences that would truly be awesome to watch and would be light years ahead of what the films were able to do, now being 2 decades later. At number 2, I want them to incorporate all of the Voldemort memories. While the films only had 2 of these memories, the novels had 7 of them, and each one adds so much to the story and to Voldemort's arc. We meet Voldemort's mother, uncle, and grandfather, and get confirmation of his heritage to Salazar Slytherin himself. Then we see Borgin and Burks for the first time, as well as Merrippy pregnant with Tom, aka Voldemort. It would also be great to get the full orphanage scene, which the film didn't really show, they just showed bits and pieces of it. And just another cool memory, we got to see Voldemort interact with his uncle when he was older, switch his memory, go kill the Riddles, and be so powerful at magic that he makes Morphin think he killed the Riddles, and even admits it to the Ministry of Magic, making him go to Azkaban and Voldemort walk free. And it only gets better as we could witness the charming side of Tom Riddle, which we didn't see too often, as he visits and charms Hepzibah Smith, only to kill her, take Slytherin's locket, take Hufflepuff's cup, and turn them both into Horcruxes. I'll admit that the Slughorn memory was done really well in the movie, but for the 7th memory, we could see one of the most fascinating, as Voldemort goes to Hogwarts, asks Dumbledore for the Defense Against the Dark Arts job, and when Dumbledore says no, he puts a curse on the job, Voldemort making sure that nobody who takes on the post would last longer than a year. These memories are so essential to the story, and I might be biased because Voldemort is my favorite character, I know, hot take, but I think most people would agree that this is something we all want to see. And finally, number 1, give justice to the Weasley family. The movies failed the Weasleys big time. For one, they ruined Ron, giving all of his good moments to Hermione, not to mention pushing Harry and Hermione together far more than Ron and Hermione, despite the fact that they were like brother and sister, as stated several times in the source material. But even more, we need to make Ginny the way she's supposed to be. She's meant to be a kick-ass, beautiful, popular, confident girl that pretty much every guy finds attractive, including Slytherins. The movies made her incredibly bland, giving Bonnie Wright terrible dialogue, and they absolutely butchered her relationship with Harry, which only further pushed the idea that Harry and Hermione should be together. And it's not just Ron and Ginny. They also failed to give us Percy's arc and left Charlie out of the movies entirely. For Percy, we did see him in a few scenes supporting Fudge, but this was never explained. And honestly, I am almost positive that anybody who just saw the movies would not know anything about Percy's betrayal. And Charlie was seen for mere seconds in a newspaper photo, which I do not count at all. HBO cast a real person to play Charlie Weasley and give him an actual scene and actual lines. And that's the 7 things I want to see in this reboot. Comment below if you can think of anything that I didn't mention. Honestly, I could probably come up with another 50 things I would want to see, but we'd be here all day. That's all I have for you guys today though. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.